welcome back to Blanche Case Fitness. It's Friday, and you know what that means. It's time for functional home fitness, where we do weight training using objects you can find around your house. And it's not snowing yet, which is making me really grumpy. Colorado does this thing where, like, it feels like it's not a 50-50 chance, but it feels like there's a 50-50 chance every time that there is a prediction for an enormous snowfall that it will either be far worse than we expect, or it will just not happen. It definitely, like, the giant amount of snow that we were supposed to be getting keeps sort of pushing back farther and farther. So, like, right now, we still have a winter storm warning, but right now it's saying that the snow's not really going to get started until like midnight tonight. But then tomorrow it's 100% certainty that it's going to be snowing, and Sunday it's 100% certain. So it's just like, come on, I want the snow. Just hurry up. Good evening, my dear. 60. Yeah. No, I mean, earlier this week was like 63 to 70. And then it just cooled right down because, again, Colorado. But I am looking forward to snow, assuming it does materialize. So keep your fingers crossed, because we need precipitation. And, you know, there's a giant thing of hot chocolate downstairs. And, like, if it doesn't snow a lot this weekend, then what am I even doing with my life? Oh my goodness, I hope that everybody has had a good week. I am glad that it's Friday. But feeling really good. Feeling much better. I know that the last couple of weeks I have pretty obviously on stream been going through some stuff, and thankfully a lot of that has evened out as of pretty literally the last couple of days. So that's a really nice feeling. So just feeling a little bit more centered and able to concentrate. And it's not perfect, because nothing is. Again, perfect is the enemy of good. But it is far better, and I feel far more on kilter. Nobody ever talks about being on kilter. We only ever talk about being off kilter. I am more on kilter today. Dang it. There we go. I'm bringing it back, people. That's what we're doing here. Oh my goodness. But yes, it's Friday. We've reached the weekend. Facebook showed me a memory from this time last year, because the 12th last year was the day before everything exploded from my perspective. Like, I know that some people had a lot of their stuff start to get canceled, like, on the 11th, but the 13th, Friday the 13th last year, was the day that everything went and so apparently Thursday the 12th last year, I recorded myself singing, and I was like, yeah, you know, things are crazy right now, but, like, here's some music and that'll cheer us up. You know, and it's just one of those things where you're like, you had no idea how crazy things were about to get. You just, like, you did not know what was coming literally less than 24 hours later. Yeah, here we are. Tomorrow is the day, from my perspective. Tomorrow is the anniversary of everything shutting down. And, you know, tomorrow is the anniversary of, like, oh, the rock gym's closing down for a while, so I won't be able to teach in person anyway. And, oh, that audition that I had scheduled has been canceled until further notice. And you know, just a lot of stuff exploded. It is a very strange thing to look back on and to see how different the world is and my world is from what I thought it was going to be this time last year, in many horrible ways and in many incredible ways. You know, because nothing is simple. Oh, your union had been talking about what to do, yeah. Oh, wow. Yep. What a weird time. What a weird time. Oh my gosh. March Madness. Yes, if anybody follows Matt Wiggins, I think his Twitch channel is just Wiggins. But he's a delightful former Loading Ready Run crew member and still does a ton of stuff with them. But he started streaming. He was like, I'm gonna stream every day, in March, and I'll call it March Madness, and then he just kept going. So he is literally, thank you for posting the link. He is literally streamed every single day for the last year, which is wild. And oh man, yeah. So a weird anniversary, my friends. A very weird anniversary. Very hard one for many of us. Probably all of us, honestly. Even when you have had a lot of really amazing things happen over the last year, like everybody has had at least one thing disrupted or dismantled. And in most cases more than one. And my goodness, it's a strange thing. But I'll tell you, you know what one of the unequivocal good things is for me, and it's right here. Woo! We hadn't even started this channel a year ago. Holy crap! I'm gonna have to figure out when I first streamed last year, because I didn't have the regular schedule, not this intensive of a schedule initially. I was sort of mimicking my my class schedules, my in-person class schedules when I started. So I think I was only doing 2 days a week. And I wasn't necessarily being very consistent with it because, let's face it, a lot of emotional shit was going down, and I didn't always have the brain space for it. So it really wasn't until June, I think, beginning of June, that I went, okay, I'm actually gonna commit some time to this. And that was definitely one of the best decisions I made last year. So in honor of just the weirdness, we are gathered here today to work out, to have some fun weight training, and to just celebrate the fact that even though everything has been really mixed up and really hard, we've made it a full year, and we have found at least one good thing to build upon over that year. And I think that's pretty special. And I hope you do too. So, speaking of it, let's do class. Hey, if you're new, welcome. This is Functional Home Fitness. It is my only weight training class, and I deliberately do it with stuff that you can find around the house, because not everybody has dumbbells and kettlebells and things like that at home, and that's fine. You can absolutely do a weight training program with your laundry detergent bottle or your textbooks from college or what have you. 2 quick advisories I'd like to give before class. One more specific to this class and one more general for free weight training, particularly arms focused free weight training. The specific advisory is, because we are using items that are not traditional gym equipment, they're not going to be nicely ergonomically designed so that the weight distribution is predictable, and they're not going to have the amount of weight neatly written on the side. And so we're not going to be able to load ourselves as deliberately as we could in a gym when we have an entire dumbbell rack. So if this is your first class, err on the side of caution with at the very least your first set, okay? Maybe pick up something that maybe feels a little bit lighter than you think that you can do and do a couple sets with it and see how that feels. And as you're getting a sense of how things feel and how the weight feels, then you can go, okay, I think I can ramp up a little bit, or, ooh, actually this is the perfect amount of weight. Or maybe you even need to ramp down, you know, but err on the side of caution, and then get to know the items in your house that you feel most comfortable doing class with, and there is nothing wrong with sticking with them. Anyone who's taken class with me for a while will tell you, I've been using that damn top-handled laundry detergent bottle for probably about the last year. So, you know, find the things that work for you and don't be afraid to stick with them, because then you have an understanding of how heavy they feel to you, even if you don't know the exact weight amounts, okay? The other advisory is more general when we are doing free weight training, arms in particular. So we are not symmetrical creatures. We have stronger sides and weaker sides, and it can be really tempting when you're doing free weight training and you have, you know, two weights of equal size, one in each hand, and you're like, well, I really want to strengthen up my weaker side, so I'm going to load it to the capacity of my stronger side and just really, you know, push it. That is a mistake, okay? Always load based on the capacity of your weaker side, not your stronger side, because when you're overloading your weaker side, when you're giving it more weight than it is prepared to safely handle, then it's going to start making unhealthy compensations just to try and move the weight through the air, and you are going to be putting yourself in the path of injury in a far more intensive way than just, you know, normal potential for injury, because we're moving through the world. So always load based on the capacity of your weaker side. It may feel a little bit easier for your stronger side than you're used to, but your stronger side is not going to be harmed by using a weight that is a little bit lighter than it could go. Whereas your weaker side can very potentially be harmed by using a weight that is too heavy for it. And that's how I ended up with chronic shoulder issues. And it's just, it makes sense in our heads to be like, well, if I wanted to catch up with this other arm, then obviously I want to push the weight up higher. That is, no, no. Okay, so those are our advisories. Let's do our pre-class checklist. Everybody make sure you have your water in whatever vessel you are using. Oh yeah. I think I have not necessarily hydrated perfectly today. That's all right. So you've got your water, you've got your comfy clothes on, whatever that means to you. You've got your mat or mat-sized space on the floor. You've got your equipment. Today I've got just this beautiful buddy. And I might grab a textbook off of the shelf. We'll see what happens. We'll see what comes out of my brain fully formed. And if you use a fitness wearable, we can turn them on right now. Not high intensity interval training. Today is just find a traditional strength training setting, because apart from the warm up, we're not going to be doing the same sort of punching up of our cardiovascular system that we do in the HIIT class. So, get that big yawn out. You know what? It's late in the day. It's getting darker, if it's not already dark where you are. So don't be afraid to yawn. And then let's do our warm up. All right. That's on. Good. Just making sure all of my equipment is here and ready. All right. My friends, it's the same warm up we do every time, which is so nice. So everybody on your mats, on your backs, 1 foot crossed over the opposite knee, and as soon as you hear that timer go off, we will begin with our hip rocks and bridges. Hiya. Okay, that was weird, but we're going. Hey, I do not like it when the Bluetooth connection is stuttery like that. That's just real weird. All right, well, I put my phone on Do Not Disturb, so hopefully we won't have a repeat of yesterday I was like, or not yesterday, it was Wednesday, running, and I think it was the last Tabata timer, of course, and I was like, why are the sound effects not going through the speaker? I don't understand what's happening. And then I discovered that an alarm was going off on my phone and had completely hijacked the entire phone because I hadn't turned the alarm off yet. And I was like, are you kidding me right now? So that was annoying. Yay! Alright, there we go. That sounded much better. Switching feet and remembering, as always, that this is our warm-up. We are not here to go to 100% energy output. We are here to wake ourselves up, turn on all of the appropriate systems that we need for class, and just get ourselves ready for a nice, safe, strong class. Yeah. So if you're new to class, obviously I only have the one piece of equipment right now, but there's so many things that we have scattered through our homes. And so, you know, in case you didn't see I always try to drop in here are some possible things that you can use for class list in the social media postings, but just in case you didn't see that. Obviously, laundry detergent bottles are great for this class. They're one of those objects that I feel like everybody at some point has picked up and gone, oh wow, this is so heavy, I could totally do some weightlifting with this. And, you know, now's the time to put our money where our mouth is there. Book bags, so backpacks or tote bags are also great options because you can have a much finer degree of control over the amount of weight because you've got the bag and they generally have, you know, a top handle on them, which means that they're easier to move around, and then you can fill them with whatever number of books and or other items that you want to, you know, so you can really control the overall weight of the bag so much more effectively. The only issue with them, and this isn't specific to book bags, I have this with a detergent bottle sometimes too, and so I guess this is more of a caution for any of the objects that we're using. You'll notice I talked about ergonomic design earlier before we started the warm-up, and that's a big thing where when we're using book bags, their center of gravity will swing around a lot. Okay, they're not as rooted. They're not designed to just sort of stay still while we move them through the air, and so you have to be prepared for that movement and make sure that you are managing it safely. So that's another reason why it's good to start lighter when you're first coming into class, so that not only can you get a sense of how heavy the objects are that you're trying to use and better determine what makes sense for you given where you are in your fitness journey, but also it gives you an opportunity to be safer about learning how to manage really weird shaped items that are going to move around a little more unpredictably than a dumbbell or a kettlebell would, okay? And that's really important, you know. It's something that I forget to mention enough, honestly, because I've been using this bottle, like I said, for a literal year. It, you know, I am used to it now, and I sort of understand how the center of gravity can shift slightly depending on where the liquid is inside and what type of exercise I'm doing. And so I understand how to manage the movement of the weight through space as safely as possible. So I forget to talk about it enough, but that's something that's really important to pay attention to. And honestly, you may try some items and decide that they don't really work for your purposes. You know, I used a stock pot a few times, especially when I was getting this class off the ground. I would use a stock pot as one of the items, and like, you know, there's something to be said for it because similarly to a backpack, you can load it with other objects. You can control the weight a little bit more, but it was just such an unwieldy size and shape that I felt like I was never getting a particularly effective workout when I was using it. So there, again, I really can't stress this enough. Find the things that make sense. Don't feel like you have to use different objects every time. I certainly don't, okay? And again, particularly because we are using objects that are not specifically designed for weightlifting, the more predictability you can introduce, the safer you'll be, okay? So don't feel like you need to be getting a brand new roster of items every time we do this class. If you're using the exact same bag and the exact same books every single time, that is totally fine. The other thing to keep in mind too is that you can absolutely use kettlebells and dumbbells and medicine balls and things like that for this class, okay? You are not required to do functional home fitness with laundry detergent bottles and backpacks and books and stuff like that. Like, if you've got the equipment, go ahead. I try to remember to mention what type of equipment I would be using if I was doing this exercise in the gym. So yeah, feel free to use that equipment if you have it. I will always be using this type of stuff, even whenever I actually end up with a set of dumbbells, I will still be using this stuff because accessibility is super important to me for my classes and for my teaching, and not everybody has either the money or the space to get a set of dumbbells or kettlebells or other types of gym equipment, and it can be really disheartening when you don't have access to your gyms. Or, you know, we've all had the experience of going on a trip, maybe a business trip. You're somewhere unfamiliar, you don't have the equipment you're used to, and you're just like, well, I don't have my perfect setup, so I'm not gonna bother working out while I'm on this trip. And then you get home and you struggle to build the habit back up because you've gotten out of the habit. And one thing that can really help is realizing that with just a little bit of creativity, we can take our workouts anywhere. You know, and I want people to be able to do that. I don't want you to ever feel like if you don't have access to really specific, specialized equipment that you're just not going to be able to work out, okay? So that's why most of my classes are bodyweight classes, and that's why this class is always going to be taught using stuff you can find around the house, even if and when I actually get more traditional dumbbell set, because I always want everyone who's taking class with me to remember that they can absolutely they can absolutely rock a weight training sequence without having access to gym equipment, all right? You absolutely can do it. And the more that we allow ourselves that creativity in our workouts, the easier it'll be to maintain them, because we stop putting that emphasis and placing that importance on the perfect setup. And that's something I fall victim to all the time, my friends. So believe me when I say that I totally understand that temptation. You know, I totally understand being like, well, I want to have the perfect setup. I want to feel like I am, like I have everything that I need for success and perfection, and if I don't have that, then why even bother doing the thing? And let me tell you, that attitude is never a healthy one, my friends. It is never a healthy one. The assumption that if we are not perfect right off the bat, or if we don't feel immediately comfortable with our own ability to manage something, that it's not worth doing, that is not true. It's not ever true. We gotta be willing to try things and keep trying them, you know, and not give up if we're not immediately perfect at them. And not expect that progress will always go in a straight line, okay? So something to just keep in mind, and it's something that I try to remind you of as much as I can, because let me tell you, I absolutely understand the impulse. I have struggled a lot in my life with, you know, feeling like, well, if I didn't succeed at this thing in this self-imposed time frame, that, you know, I clearly shouldn't bother continuing to try for it. And that's just silly. That's just silly, my friends. It takes time to build things and to get better at things. It takes time and it takes effort. And it takes recognizing that sometimes you need to take a little bit of a break and then return refreshed. And that sometimes you're gonna feel really excited, and then you're gonna feel like you've taken a few steps back. And reminding ourselves that failure or feeling like we've gone backwards is not the worst thing in the world. Far from it, you know? So, just some Friday evening musings as we wait for the snow to hopefully start happening at some point. At least on my end. I don't know what the weather's gonna look like on your end, but I would like some snow. Dang it. I would very much like to get some snow going around here, and just get that last, well, it's not going to be the last. This is Colorado, but get the last snow that we are happy about out of the way before we move into spring, and then start getting the late spring snows that are always really frustrating and annoying. Because by then you're like, Well, but I don't want snow. I want to be able to be outside, particularly right now, you know. Just the ability to spend any kind of time with friends and loved ones is far more weather dependent right now than it has ever been in my life. And I would really like to be able to sit outside at an appropriate distance and just try and spend time with people. All right. Oh gosh. Always funny when I go back to my stopwatch app and discover that it's been going since the last time I taught class. So for, you know, almost 48 hours at this point. Oh. Yeah, water. Woo! We love it. Love to see it. Love to hydrate. People keep sending me videos of like ducks drinking water and just being really excited about it. And I'm like, yes, ducks agree with me. 5 out of 5 ducks agree. Hydration is awesome. All right, so we are gonna do our usual 2-minute intervals. I think we're just gonna have 4 exercises today. Alrighty, so not sure what they're gonna be. Okay, 4 exercises today, 2-minute intervals. So if you've never done class before, I set the timer going, and the timer goes off at the beginning of the 2 minutes, and we do all of the reps for whatever exercise we are doing. And then once you're done with the reps, then you use the rest of the timer as rest, grab some water, chill, then you'll hear knock, knock, knock at 10 seconds before you hear the timer go again, and we start the same thing over with the next exercise. So, what are we gonna do? All right. So, let me just update the timer really quickly, because we're only doing 4 exercises, not 5 today. So, first exercise is going to be lunge with a pass through. So, we're going to start standing, holding the weight in one hand. We're going to come down into a nice double bent leg lunge, and we are going to pass the weight from one hand to the other through the legs, then push back up to standing, and then other side, same thing, okay? And we'll just go back and forth. So this is a little bit bigger than I would prefer to use. If I was doing this exercise in the gym, I'd probably be using a dumbbell or a kettlebell. So again, pay attention to the size and the ergonomics of whatever item you are using, okay? Second is going to be ball leg through pass. So, except we're not using a ball. Well, if you have a medicine ball, go ahead and use it. Or like a big sand-filled ball, that's what we use in the gym. Those things are amazing. But we're gonna come up into a pike, but not like a perfectly held one. Just, you want your legs off the floor, your core is engaged to keep them up. Those are the main 2 components of this. And then we're gonna take this weight, bring it up and down between the legs, and then bring one leg over, bring the weight back over that leg and down, and under the other leg. And we're just going to go back and forth. So if I was doing it in the gym, as I said, I'd be doing it with a medicine ball, something a little bit easier to handle going from one side to the other. So again, just keep that in mind. And then 3 and 4, we did this fairly relatively recently, but I also just really am feeling this exercise right now. We're going to do our bent over row, one side at a time, and we're going to take just a very small, you can barely even call it a lunge. All right, my front leg is bent, and I've got my hand on the knee, and I've got the weight hanging in front, but my shoulder's engaged, so it's not pulling down towards the floor. And then we're just going to row up, 1 and 2, and then exercise 4 will be same thing, other side. Okay? So those are our exercises. We've got the leg through pass. We've got a couple leg through pass things. So one with the lunge from standing, and that's more of a leg exercise. One from the pike position on the floor, and that's our core exercise. And then we've got the bent over rows. Alrighty? I might. Oh, there's water in there. No, I was about to get really creative and see if I could do the ball leg through passes with a watering can, but there's water in that watering can, so I think we're not going to do that. All right, my friends. So everybody on your mats, we're going to start with the lunge, with the through pass, then core, then arm, and let's do 20 to 35 reps, depending on what you feel comfortable with. And as soon as you hear that horn, so everybody picking up your weights, getting ready in that standing position. And as soon as you hear the horn, so we do the lunge, we pass the weight through, come back up to standing, other side, same thing. So we are going to have to bring our backs forward a little bit in order to pass the weight, but make sure that your core is engaged the whole time, so you're not just letting yourself sort of collapse over like that and letting the weight pull you down to the floor. All right? You also want to check in and make sure that the front knee is not pushing past your toes. Okay, so you still want that nice, safe leg positioning and knee positioning for the lunge. Alrighty. Yeah. Woo! Feeling the work. Awesome. I think I'm going to use my textbook for the core exercise. Yeah, definitely a large book. Speaking of large books, some of mine are falling. Someday I'll get that particular shelf figured out. I've got this like lovely display shelf, and it's just very haphazard right now because I don't really know what I want to do with it. You know, I've got some half marathon completion medals, which feels appropriate. I've got a variety of textbooks on different activities and disciplines, human anatomy, strength training anatomy, distance cycling. I've got my resistance bands, my boxing gloves, and this one random pair of 5-pound dumbbells that my friend left behind in the house when she and her family moved out. And then I've just got a bunch of random stuff and other books and papers and a lot of sheet music, which doesn't feel like it really fits here, but you know, whatever. We're making do with what we have, my friends. So yeah, it's not, nothing feels very solid there because it's still being figured out, you know, and that can be a little frustrating, but I'll get there. There's nothing about this process that has to move quickly, particularly, you know, I feel like one of the reasons that usually when you move into a new place, you want to get everything set up really quickly because it's like, oh, I want to have people over. Well, I mean, I'm obviously not having people over right now, so I've got some extra time to figure stuff out in here. Still a lot more on the walls too, because it is definitely still quite echoey for class. And, you know, it's not the worst, but I would enjoy not hearing my voice amplified like 10 times over. All right, my friends, going into side one of our bent over rows. Yeah, so remember, we've got the non-working hand on that front knee to really stabilize us, okay? And we're not taking a super deep lunge. I've just got a little bit of a bend in that front leg, trying to keep that back leg straight, but it's not super far back. And I'm really focusing in on the arm and just doing that nice row up, keeping that elbow close in to the body, okay? So it's not fanning outward. So same thing that I tell you when we're doing our push-ups, right? I tell you to keep that arm, that elbow, nice and close in to the side of the body. So same thing for today, yeah? Every day a little better. I think that's a great way to look at it. Yeah, absolutely. Every day a little better, and you know, it will all eventually get done, which will be nice. Oh, water. Dang it, water is great. All right. Woo! Well, that was arm one. I need to remember which arm I've already done, although it's pretty obvious to me because this arm is like, hey, I'm a little tired. My other arm is like, yeah, I'm doing all right. So, yeah. We're good. All right, that was the knocking sound. Didn't really come super well through the speaker, but that's all right. Yay, and now side number two. All right, now the one thing I will say about this lunge, again, we want to make sure that we're not trying to hold, to have our feet like in line with each other. You know, the back foot is not directly behind the front foot because that is going to make it next to impossible to maintain the stability. So we use that skiing image, right? To be like, okay, I will pretend that I have skis on my feet and I literally can't bring them super close together because otherwise I'll just be whapping myself with my skis. All right, so we want to use that approach basically with any lunge-based thing that we do. So when we go back into the lunges with the pass-through in a second, we're going to want to do the same thing, okay? We're going to want to make sure that we're in those ski tracks. So I'm lunging and my feet are actually nicely apart from each other. Like if I brought my feet back, they would probably be about hip width apart. And that's pretty much what we want to make sure that we're stable. Because again, that's the thing that we don't want to doubt. That's the thing that we don't want to worry about, especially when we are manipulating heavy weights, okay? So as we head into side 2, or round 2 rather, let's just make sure to pay attention to that and checking in on that form, all right? We want the form to be just as good here as it was on the first side. So checking in on that core. Are you engaging those muscles to make sure that you're not letting the weight drag you down, and making sure that you are doing a nice lunge with that front knee not pushing forward way far past your toes. Okay, you want that shin to be as close to perpendicular as possible. All right? Yeah. Woo! And you want to make sure that you're drinking plenty of water, all right? Oh yeah. Much better. Much, much better. So, it's a good class. This is a good class. We got some really nice, intensive exercises that we can really challenge ourselves with, depending on the amount of weight that you're using, or the number of reps that you're pushing for. We can really feel a good challenge, and that is definitely, I've talked about that a lot this week. You know, the ways in which I am working to better challenge myself and, you know, allow myself to work a little bit harder than maybe I had been allowing myself to work previously. You know, we all get into those plateau modes. We all get into that headspace where we're like, okay, I understand exactly how much energy I need to expend to do class at this intensity level that feels relatively comfortable to me, and I'm just gonna stick with that. And that is exactly what we do, because, you know, we're trying to maintain, we want to be able to do whatever activity we're trying to do with the minimum amount of energy expended. That's what our brain is trying to do. Because our brain wants to make sure that if a saber-toothed tiger runs in from the other room, that we have enough energy banked up that we'll be able to run away from it, you know? So we get into those plateaus, and a large part of it is just left to its own devices. Our brain will go, cool, I have figured out how hard we need to push to get through this sequence of activities, and we'll stay there. And the plateau is not inherently negative. I want to stress that, okay? I've talked before about the fact that sometimes we hit a point in our overall fitness, strength, power, and we go, I feel really good about this particular level of fitness, strength, power, activity. And I really just want to focus on maintaining that. And, you know, just, that is my goal right now. And that's awesome. And that is a totally legitimate goal, okay? And I don't want you to ever let anyone tell you differently. Like, if that's your goal, awesome, okay? What I will say is that sometimes we start to feel bored with our regular routines. We start to feel that lack of challenge. We start to feel the fact that there is more that we could be doing. And those are the times when doing something to switch it up or to ramp up your challenge rating can help to reinvigorate your excitement about exercise and fitness, you know? And so if you notice that feeling, if you notice that boredom or that frustration, then pay attention to what your challenge points have been, what you've been doing to push yourself or challenge yourself, and you know, there is very likely an opportunity for change there, you know, an opportunity to say, I've been feeling like I just have this amount of weight so well under control, like let me try and use a heavier weight and see how that feels. Or I feel like I've really been holding myself back on the number of reps I do. So let me see if I can add another few reps to my sequence. For myself, what I've been doing this week is I've just been doing more of the overall class. Obviously, I do class with you every time I teach, but also I tend to not do the entire timer with you. And my reasoning has always been, well, I need to make sure that I have enough oxygen to be able to teach and talk the whole time. But I was starting to get that feeling in my head that like, that feels less like a reason and more like an excuse at this point. And like, there's nothing wrong with that. And you know, there's been a lot of stuff going on in my life, and so it hasn't necessarily been the time for me to punch up the challenge rating in class. But this past week, I definitely sort of hit that point where I was like, all right, screw it. Now is the time that I want to bump this up. And it's been feeling really awesome. It's been feeling really exciting, and you know, just having that sensation of challenge and achievement is so cool. And so that's just been giving me that additional pop of energy when I'm teaching, and that feels really, really good. So if you've been having that experience, feeling maybe a little less invested, a little bored, or like, I don't feel like I'm really doing anything exciting in class, then now may be the time to go, all right, well, what can I do to reinvigorate myself? I love water too. Water is the best. Oh my goodness. water is absolutely the best. And I will fight anyone who says differently. I won't. Like, you're entitled to your own opinion. Water's kind of important because, you know, we like being alive, but hey. Oh yeah. Yay, water. Oof. I definitely was a little lax in my hydration today because I am blasting through that water. And here's the thing. It can be a lot easier to neglect our water bottles during our strength training class because we're not hitting the same degree of cardiovascular intensity. So you aren't necessarily going to as automatically and as easily recognize how much fluid loss you're still undergoing. You know, you're still working out. You're still using that, your body's cooling system, which involves sweating and losing water out of your body that way. And you really want to make sure that even though this isn't a class where we're like ending and we're like, oh my God, I'm so exhausted and I'm panting, like you're still breathing heavily and that expels water out of your body. You're still sweating and that expels water out of your body. So it is still super important for you to be drinking water, okay? So yeah, every time we're on a break, go over to that water and grab another drink. Enjoy it. Enjoy the life-giving force of water. There we are. Woo! All right. Coming back around to our rows. Nice, stable position. And remember, exhaling on the effort is awesome for helping to give us that pop of energy and momentum to get us through the exercise. All right, so exhaling on the effort, basically you're assessing for each exercise what is the component of the movement that is taking the most energy, okay? So for this, the component of the movement that's taking the most energy is pulling that weight up from its low position, okay? We're engaging our muscles and generating enough internal force in those muscle fibers that they can contract, they can counteract the external force of the weight and lift the entire arm apparatus up. And so that's where the effort is. So nice, big, dramatic breath reminds us to breathe fully throughout the process and helps to give us that additional power and momentum, okay? Water and breathing, the two best things for class. There we go. Nice big breath. All right. Side two. Got my hair in my mouth. The other thing to keep in mind for this exercise in particular, as well as the lunges with the pass-through, is checking in on that shoulder engagement and making sure that the shoulder is supporting and holding the weight, and that the weight is not dragging the shoulder down towards the ground, okay? You can't see it as well on this side, obviously, because I'm doing the exercise away from camera. Forgive me, I usually try to turn around, but for this time, I didn't. But just as an example, whenever I'm holding a heavy weight, my shoulder, I don't need to be pulling it up. I don't want it pulling up towards the ear, but I don't want the weight to pull the shoulder, like that's almost pulling the shoulder out of the socket. So shoulders engaged, my shoulders together are still pretty level, and that is something that we need to keep in mind anytime we are holding a big heavy thing, okay? Even if we're not moving it through space. It's the thing that we do with our farmer's carries, you know? We're not moving that weight through space, but we still need to make sure that the shoulder is supporting it, is strong and stable and not getting dragged around by the weight, all right? So something to think about as we head into our final set. Holy crap. I feel like class is going by so quickly. Like, I know this is not any quicker than class usually is, but wow, I've been really enjoying today's work. This has been a good set of exercises. And that can be a really fun thing to do. You know, if you're feeling like the exercises aren't challenging you anymore, then that's the time to start thinking about the different ways that we can up our challenge rating, all right? So, different things that we can do. We can increase the amount of weight that we are using. We can increase the number of reps that we are performing. We can decrease the amount of rest time that we are allowing ourselves. Obviously, you don't have as much control over that in a class setting because I'm setting the intervals, but if you ramp up the number of reps, then you are automatically decreasing the amount of rest time, okay? So those are the things that we think about. And, you know, obviously, if we were working one-on-one, we could do that more deliberately together, but that's not really feasible in a class setting. So I give you the tool. So if you're feeling like you really want some more challenge, those are the things to look at. All right, look at how many reps you're doing, how much weight you're using, and how long your rest periods are, okay? And see what you can do to mess with those ratios. You don't want to do too much at once. You know, if I am over here ramping up the amount of weight that I use, I probably don't want to also be trying to up the number of reps that I'm performing. In fact, in switching to heavier weight, I may have to do fewer reps to start with as I get used to the heavier weight, all right? So keep that in mind. We don't need to change every factor at the same time. And in fact, we shouldn't. So be deliberate about it, okay? Be deliberate about it. And if you try something and you go, okay, this is making it a lot harder for me to maintain the form, remembering that form is the core of everything that we're doing, then go, all right, maybe I'm not ready to up the amount of weight that I'm using for this exercise. So let's try something different. Let's try adding an additional 5 reps to each set, okay? So yeah, we don't want to try everything all at once, and we do not need to stick with the first thing that we try. If it feels like, if you get in there a little bit and you're like, this really doesn't feel safe, doesn't feel like it's working, that is an important thing to be able to identify for ourselves, okay? That is super important to be able to be honest about. So do not, don't keep going with the heavier weight just because you were like, well, I'm gonna start with upping the amount of weight, so I have to stick to that because that's what I said I would do, all right? That is not how this works. Woo, man. Definitely. It's fascinating to feel the strength disparities in different limbs. And if that's something you notice a lot about yourself, do not worry. Totally normal. We are not symmetrical creatures. I have huge disparities in the amount of weight that my left arm can manage versus my right arm. And, it's interesting because when you're doing exercises that have them working in tandem, you don't notice it as much, So I can do heavier amounts of weight if I'm doing like a lat pull down on a machine than I can necessarily do for, say, dumbbell presses when I'm doing them free weights. And that's another sort of component of all of this that's important to keep in mind. But if you've been noticing that, don't worry. It is totally normal, and things will strengthen up, but also we just have different capacities in different parts of our body. Our injury map can absolutely have huge impacts on that. Any chronic illnesses or chronic conditions that we deal with can have huge impacts on that. So, it's important to pay attention to where your body is. And, we want to have an idea of where we would like it to be, but we don't want to get so caught up in that idea that we forget to pay attention to where we are now, and that can be dangerous. That can cause us to put ourselves in more dangerous situations and potentially injure ourselves, and it can suck. I'm super frustrated that my left arm feels so much weaker than my right arm. But that doesn't change that fact, Me being frustrated about that doesn't magically make my left arm go, oh, sorry, I didn't know that was so annoying to you. I'll just strengthen those muscle fibers right up, I still have to work slowly and safely towards strengthening it. And that is just a fact of working out. And that's fine. Hey! Woo! All right. Since I'm sitting by my water, I'm going to have some water. Oh yeah. Water's the best. All right, let's let's do just a tiny bit of standing stretching. Honestly, I'm going to focus on the arms because we did some intensive arm stuff today. Awesome arm stuff today. So let's just let the arms swing forward and back. We're not like shoving them in either direction. We're just sort of letting momentum take them. And now one arm up to the side and across the body. Grab it just above the elbow and pull that upper arm into the chest, getting that stretch in the shoulder and into the tricep a little bit. Always making sure that you're breathing, taking those breaths. There we go, we got there. My universal translator kicked out there for a second. All right, and release the arms, and other arm up and across, same thing. Oh yeah, that feels nice. Nice little stretch. Okay. Release that. And then let's take that first arm up and let the forearm fold down. Other hand to the elbow. And just apply a little bit of pressure. And again, sort of stretching the shoulder out from a different angle. If you have the flexibility, you can take the hand that's on the elbow and bring it down and up and grab hands like this. I don't do that very frequently anymore because my flexibility is wildly different between the two arms. All right, release those arms. And so when I try to do it on the other side, I end up not really getting a useful stretch because I'm like spending so much time trying to like shove my arm up there and grab fingertips. So it's not necessarily a modification that I'm like, yeah, go for it. But if you have that flexibility on both sides, I would say, then yeah, sure, go for it. Why not? All right, we're on the other side. Same stretch again, and you're gonna see I do not have that flexibility on the side. I get about here, and then I'm like, okay, I can sort of touch the fingertips. But so I just will keep my hand on the elbow and do the stretch this way. There we are. All right, release that. And last but not least, gonna clasp my hands behind my back, and I'm just gonna let myself roll over and let my arms just sort of fall towards the floor as far as they can go. Okay, so this is the third shoulder stretch, essentially. And I'm really, I'm letting my torso bend over as far as I can. And I'm just letting gravity manage this one. It's one of the few times that gravity is allowed to come to the party and participate. All right, roll back up. Quick standing calf or quad stretch. So hand on the wall for balance. Take one foot into your hand. Pull that heel in towards your butt and really get that nice intensive stretch in the quad. Ooh, yeah. Yeah, because we were doing a lot of lunging today. So your quad is probably going to appreciate the stretch. Honestly, there are a few times that your quad is not going to appreciate the stretch. All right, other side, same thing. Remember, while this is an exercise that you can absolutely do as a balance, even if you can maintain that balance, I recommend having a hand on a wall or a counter anyway, just so that you're not splitting your focus between trying to stretch that quad and trying to keep that balance, because then you end up doing neither of them particularly effectively. All right. All right. Woo! Let's sit down. Let's chill. Man, that felt so fun. It is really fun to ramp up the weight every once in a while and just be like, okay, I felt that work. I felt that intensity. Yeah, you know, if you've been feeling like, all right, you know, I'm not really feeling like the intensity on X, Y, or Z thing, like it may be time to ramp up the weight a little bit, you know? Again, always listening to your body and its capacity. And that, you know, goes without saying, and also I try to say it as much as possible. It's an interesting line as a teacher to find between, yeah, I want to help you challenge yourself, and I want to help you ramp up your fitness in whatever way you are looking to do that. But I also want to, at all times, emphasize heavily the importance of listening to your body. You are the one who lives in your body. You know how it's feeling. You know what your strong side and your weak side is, which limbs are more or less flexible. You know the injury history that has created different weird touch points. And it's so important for you to learn how to use that history to guide your work and to listen to the signals that your body and your brain are sending you and to honor them, okay? So always, even when I'm having a day where I'm like, yeah, we're challenging ourselves, I always want you to feel comfortable and safe focusing on how you are feeling in your body on that day. And if I'm over here going, yeah, ramp up the weight a little bit, and you're like, I am not there, if I ramp up the weight, I'm gonna lose the form. That's fine, okay? Always fine. Yeah, the lunge pass-throughs are an interesting one. And again, an added layer of complexity comes on when you are using non-gym equipment. You know, so that thing is kind of, the laundry detergent bottle is kind of too behemoth for a lot of these exercises. It works great for just like her exercises, but I'm glad you enjoyed them though, because they are really fun. They're a nice active leg exercise, and also one that really does remind you to engage your core, because you don't want to be dragged forward by the weight. So you know that I love anything that reminds us of that. Oh my goodness. Well, my friends, we made it back to Friday. And I'm pretty pleased about that. I feel, you know, it is a strange anniversary. But I feel a little more hopeful today than I have in a while. I feel a little more confident, and that's a really damn good feeling. So, and you know, class is a huge part of that too. That's the thing that I do love about exercise. Again, it's not a magic bullet for everything that ails us physically, mentally, what have you, but it can be such a great way to remind ourselves of our own badassedness on days when we're struggling with that, when our brains are trying to tell us that it's not true, or there are circumstances in our lives that are leading us to doubt whether we are, you know, as awesome as we hope or try to be. Coming into class and crushing a weight training sequence like that, or crushing a cardio Tabata sequence, it can remind you that you are a superhero. You may not be in a Marvel movie, but you are absolutely a superhero. And that is one of the things I love about having this class, is no matter where I am, no matter how much I may be struggling with things, being here with y'all and working out always reminds me of the incredible capacity that I have to be awesome. And I hope it does the same for you. I really, really do, because I think that's one of the most beautiful things about working out is just getting that reminder of how cool our bodies are and what amazing stuff they can do. And it's good to have those reminders. It's good to have those reminders. Speaking of, we've got one more class this week. I know, only one, but it's okay. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. is the weekend kickoff, our awesome strength and stamina focused bodyweight class. Hopefully tomorrow morning I am talking excitedly about snow. So definitely come take that class if you are so inclined. 9 a.m. Mountain Time. I can't remember if I said that part, but if I did, I'm saying it again. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All those handles will be in my end cards, but they are all variations on Blanche Case Fitness. My YouTube channel is where I upload all the VODs from these streams, so you never have to miss a class, even if you can't make the live cast. So definitely head over there and subscribe. If you want to help support me financially in making these streams, I do have a coffee account for one-time donations at Blanche Case Fitness. Your donations are always very much appreciated. And you can also follow or subscribe to this channel. And if you want to help keep growing our community, growing our channel, then please do follow or subscribe. Tell your friends, loved ones, coworkers, anyone looking for an awesome class. I stream 4 days a week. We have a great community here and we just have a lot of fun. So I hope you come back and join us. I'm gonna drink the rest of this water and go have a little bit to eat and put on some snuggly clothes and, you know, probably have some hot chocolate with peppermint schnapps in it, because if you can't do that on a potentially snowy night, what are you even doing with your life? So make sure to hydrate, make sure to get some food, start replenishing those glycogen stores, especially if you're planning to come to class tomorrow morning. Have a good shower and, you know, get into whatever comfy clothes you want to get into. And I will see you all back here tomorrow morning. Mwah. Have a great night.